A Frontier. These are the voyages of the podcast Captain Slug. Its ongoing mission to explore strange new episodes, to seek out new jokes and new references, to split infinitives that no one has split before. Captain Slug, Stardate 54. These are the continued voyages of me, Eddie Edwards, and my friend and colleague, Mr. Mark Bench, as we trek our way through all of Star Trek The Next Generation. Mark, how you been? What you been up to this week?
Not much. I was back in London. That was nice.
Oh, wait, what was that like?
It was nice. It's public transport. There's lots of that.
Yeah. And again, I'm sorry that my dog is an arsehole.
That's alright. let's not give any more context for that.
Yeah, no, let's
just
not.
Leave that to the people.
No, I think I've mentioned my problems with the dog on this podcast, so piece it together.
Look, I do like, as I said to you, I like that that your shower, like the panel for the shower buttons, like the button that turns on the air extractor and just turns on the heater or whatever. I like that your shower extractor fan has a button for impulse and a button for warp drive.
Yeah, so there's 3 buttons, and the 2 of them don't do anything unless you press them. You got to press them in sequence as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So it goes like 1, 2, 3. Yeah, and I don't understand. I would figure that, like, the average extractor fan, if I was building a bathroom, I would have one that deals with the level of extraction that a bathroom requires.
Yeah.
And leave it at that.
Do you think, I like that you have to press it in sequence as well. Do you think that's what it was like trying to have a shower in the cop headquarters in Resident Evil 2? I love it in Resident Evil 2. I never actually played the original. The Resident Evil was never really my jam, right? But I did play the remake. And if you don't know the story of Resident Evil 2, basically there's zombies and you are in a police station, but you are very quickly informed, oh, this police station used to be a museum, which is why there's like really bizarre, like how do I get into ammo storage? Well, you have to take the red gem and put it back into its place as the eye of this statue, and then just turn it 45 degrees, and there you go. That'll let you straight in.
In the original Resident Evil, you are just in a mansion, but it is then revealed later on that the mansion is itself like a cover for an underground facility where Umbrella Corp are like working on all this shit. And at that point, all of the fucking puzzle bollocks to get around the fucking mansion immediately makes no sense. Because was it like, dear, like, I can imagine the emails like sending those into HR. Dear HR, I would like to apologise for the fact that I am taking an extra half an hour for my lunches every day. But just to be clear, it takes me 45 minutes to get from my desk to the cafeteria because I have to go through I have to find the 2 eyes of the tiger bus down in the middle of the thing. I have to go through a well for some reason to get a secret key that only works if I put a busted up shotgun on a wall.
Every now and again, the shark tank is full, so I have to take that whole detour. But then at the same time, the fact that the Resident Evil police station is like that, it tells me that that's not a bizarre thing to happen in that world. So that's why none of the characters in Resident Evil 1 are surprised that the creepy mansion that they're staying in has creepy mansion properties. Because they're just like, well, of course, if anything, it would be weirder if it didn't have this.
I think that's a big part of why everybody in Raccoon City got zombified and so few people escaped. Is because I think all of Raccoon City is like that. Like, their fucking transit network is a fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
If you think the underground's complicated, just wait until you have to go. You need to change at Charing Cross, go up to the mural of the spider's web, turn several pieces counterclockwise.
Hell, there's zombies. I need to get into the panic shelter. Do you have the bottom half of the painting? Then I'm afraid not.
No worry, it's just zombies. It's not like there was a large hulking monster stopping you from spending a significant amount of time in any room. So you should be able to crack this easily.
Exactly.
Fucking hell. I love the Resident Evil games. I genuinely love them. Resident Evil 4 is apparently getting a remake, and whoever's remaking that, just what if you are thinking you can improve that game in any way, don't. It needs to be as stupid and preposterous as it was. Because it takes itself very seriously, but there is also one of the bad guys is a tiny Napoleon child, right?
Yeah.
So
my brother Stephen was telling me about it the other day, because he replays Resident Evil 4 on like a biannual basis, right? And he said that there was this bit, and I don't know why this happened to me, but there was this bit where you walk into a church and there's a bunch of cult members up at the altar. And apparently what you need to do is walk far enough into the church to trigger their animation, because then they will then do something that allows you to progress in the game. Which is just how games work. You have to have certain variables are turned on in order for variables after them to activate. He said, but I walked in and I just immediately blew them all up with a rocket launcher, and the game didn't know how to handle it. So I spent 45 minutes running about going, I've played this game so often, I can't understand why I don't remember where to go. But it turns out just blowing up what could well have been innocent parishioners.
Oh, there's nobody innocent. Resident Evil. I will say Resident Evil 4 has my all-time favourite computer game shopkeeper.
Yeah.
And anyone who's played Resident Evil 4 will know what I'm talking about. But he's never appeared in a single other Capcom game, despite the fact that they've recycled everything in that franchise. And I want so much to go into it. The next, like Resident Evil. What are they up to? 8?
Yep.
Or at 9 or whatever. I want to go into the shop and just hear, what are you buying, stranger?
What are you selling?
I'll pay a high price.
It is. I do wonder if there is a feeling we've created such an iconic character, it would be creatively bereft of us to ruin this guy and just leave it as perfect.
On the one hand, I would like to think that. On the other hand, it's Capcom and it's the games industry, and no, there is nothing sacred.
I'd like. I mean, there must be mods of Resident Evil 4 on the PC that let you play as the shopkeeper, and every time you pull the trigger, he asks, "What are you buying?"
There's. I would so play a game which was just like happening at the same time as Resident Evil 4, and you play as the shopkeeper, and your only mission is to get from where you are to the next place that you appear in the game via like a series of tunnels, and you've got to outrun Leon.
Yeah. No, what I would do, right, is rather than... I don't know how to mod games, but I wish that I did. Because what I would have is just, rather than him saying, "What are you buying?" every time you shoot, it's just that his gun, rather than going bang, says, "Buying." Can we get that?
Oh, that'd be great.
Can we work that
That'd
in?
be great.
Can we also have him dropped off by the 2 FBI agents at the start? Right, on you go.
I wish the end of the game. I wish that there was a post credits of that game where like everything in that village has been destroyed. I just want the post credits to just be the fucking shopkeeper hitchhiking his way out of town.
Yeah. Gotta get out of Spain. Getting a bit spicy here.
Spain, the only if anybody was, it's the only place that any Resident Evil bullshit is happening in the Resident Evil world, other than Raccoon City.
Yeah,
and there's like this one town in America, and a Spanish village has bizarrely a completely separate issue going on.
Weird. Yeah. Star Trek.
Yeah,
I liked this one quite a bit.
I did. I like the fact that this episode punishes Geordi for his behaviour in the last one.
He's simple setup. It's Enemy Mine. If you've seen the film Enemy Mine, it's that.
Yeah, it's that. There's a distress call. They turn up on the planet. There's a Romulan there. He says he's the only Romulan there, which fortunately everybody involved goes, well, that means there's another Romulan here.
Yep.
And then they have to leave Geordi behind. Well, they don't have to. They do. Geordi's visor. Well, his visor works, but his brain stops working, so he can't interface with it.
Yeah.
And there's a Romulan with a broken leg, and they have to work together.
So
that's like their differences.
So the Star Trek bullshit in this one is that this planet has like electron or neutrino storms, which basically interferes with all technology and brain function. So you get windows to go down onto the planet. So the Enterprise, I think, they found out that they go to the distress call, they find a crashed Romulan ship which has been blown up for the obvious reason that the Romulans don't want to get caught in Federation space. Riker, Worf, and Geordi are down there. Geordi then falls into a hole, and they can't find them. Conveniently forgetting, because he has a phaser on him, and he forgets that if he just fires the phaser out of the hole, that'll probably help Riker and Worf. Unless Geordi, because I feel like we make light of Geordi's blindness on this show quite a lot, and it probably is pretty harsh and ableist. It's not.
Well, you say we make light or dark. You can't tell.
But I wonder if this made me wonder. So obviously Geordi was born blind, and the visor allows him to see better than any of us can. But did it make him not understand how light works for people with just regular eyes? Because it's not like he forgets he has a phaser, because he then uses a phaser to make a pick, like a metal pick to get into the wall. So does he just think no one will see that if he fires it out like a beacon?
Well, he might not know it's visible, because he can see a lot of energy things that other people can't see, and maybe nobody's ever explained to him. Because it's not like you're using the laser to aim from the phaser. Like you point, you click. It's like a gun. You point, you click. You hope you hit the thing that you were pointing at, right? So as far as he knows, nobody knows. Like you just point the phaser and the other guy dies. Right?
Yeah, I guess so. And I guess as well, the only chat he ever hears about phasers is whenever he goes to Picard to ask him about phasers, and Picard immediately just gets like a glare over his vision, stares off into the distance, and says, "The lethal sounds way worse than the stun."
Yeah, that's it. Picard will tell you anything you want to know about what a phaser sounds like, but Geordi's fine on that front. He knows. I do like Geordi's little stuff. I like when they use Star Trek technology to do simple engineering. I've fallen down the hole. I need 2 picks to climb out. So I'm going to use my visor to find the alloy in the thing, and then I'm going to melt it. Using my phaser into a channel I've made, and then it will sit. And then I've got 2 metal spikes, and it's that's pretty clever. I like that.
James Meakin said something interesting in one of the comments on one of the videos of this. He said that the bonding is really the first episode where the characters start to get really rounded, which is true. But the benefit for that in terms of Star Trek is that now we understand the characters' strengths, weaknesses, and characterizations. So now we can understand why certain, from a storytelling perspective, why people are put in certain positions, because we immediately know that Geordi isn't going to sit there. Geordi is going to engineer his way out of this problem.
Yeah.
Which is what a lot of people love about this show. Is that the characters do the things that they're good at, and that solves the problem.
Yeah, if Worf had fallen down the hole, he would have punched his way out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Riker would be like, "You said hole? Fantastic."
On the note of everybody becoming more rounded characters and stuff, I do have a genuine thing I want to bring up. Why did Worf join Starfleet? Is it because it's as a Klingon, it's the closest thing to a military that he could join? Because I'm not going to have a go at anyone for their situation, but I don't think Worf embodies the ideals of and principles of Starfleet particularly well in this episode.
Oh, I somewhat disagree. So what we haven't mentioned, if you haven't seen this episode, is that as well as it being a Geordi engineering episode, this is very much a Worf episode as well. Because the Romulan that's on his own with a partner, they find him and they beam him back to the ship.
Yeah.
Now, he's going to die unless he gets a blood transfusion, but Romulans, even though they're very similar to Vulcans, can't accept Vulcan blood. It turns out that the only race they can get blood from is a Klingon, and Worf's parents were murdered by Romulans.
In front of him.
When
he was a child.
Yes, exactly. Now, here's the... So Starfleet obviously is a utopian organisation. But it has... One of the things that Starfleet prides itself on is the integration of other species' cultures. So that's why Worf wears not the bat'leth, that's the sword, but he wears the belt because that's a Klingon cultural thing. So he has, permission.
It's a prop they had left over from a movie. Is what it actually is.
Yeah, exactly. So Worf is told by Beverly Crusher, if you don't give your blood, this Romulan is going to die. And Worf's like, fantastic, I'll be in the holodeck. And then the rest of it...
Fire up the holodeck and tell Skeletor about this. He'll love it.
Yeah. So, Beverly's obviously not happy about this because she took the Hippocratic Oath, I assume. Not murdering people, not letting people die. And Picard is somewhat in the middle on this issue. Because he takes Worf inside and says, you do understand that if you don't give your blood, that guy's going to die. And Worf's like... Yeah, Beverly told me that before I started this holodeck session. Now, can you please let me and Skeletor get back to drinking?
Yeah, and I do like that Picard does say he does put it to Worf if I ordered you to give the Romulan your blood, would you do it? And Worf is like, yeah, I would obey a direct order. And then Picard's like, okay. Right, I'm not going to do that because that's deeply unethical.
Yeah.
So, would you please do it? And Worf's like, no. But the thing is, Worf goes talk to the Romulan at one point because Beverly's like, hey, maybe if I put you in the same room, you'll... I don't know what she was thinking. She thought Worf's soul and emotionally would be touched by watching someone die, but actually Worf is just enjoying seeing a Romulan in pain. And the Romulan itself doesn't consent to the treatment.
No.
He says, no, if it's the choice between death and having your filthy Klingon blood in my body, I would rather die. So that seems pretty cut and fucking dry at that point. I mean, that seems like he's not consented as a patient. So Worf's... I mean, he's not got the moral high ground, but he's got ground. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly. And so while this is happening up on the Enterprise, down on the planet, Geordi has discovered a second Romulan.
Yeah.
Or a second Romulan has discovered Geordi.
Yeah, pointed the disruptor at him.
Getting a bit leery at him.
Yeah.
And we have to figure this out because the Romulan has broken his leg. But
he breaks his leg once he's got Geordi, and then Geordi carries him into a cave.
Oh, that's right,
to protect him from the outside, doing the Starfleet thing.
Yeah.
Of trying to save a Romulan. So overall, in terms of Romulans saved, this episode is a wash. It's 50
O'Brien watch. Did you notice that O'Brien's had a haircut?
I didn't.
I did. That's about all the O'Brien watch we have for this episode.
Yeah. I think that's something I'm going to point out is that to work out how to get Geordi up, they realise Wesley has the realisation that if they fired a probe down that was firing a neutrino ray up, Geordi can see that with his visor, and then if he gets to the place where it is, he can modify the stream so they up on the ship would know that he's there.
Yeah.
And when they do that, Geordi sees this and immediately goes, Wesley. Which is kind of a bit of a kick in the face for literally every other engineer on board the Enterprise. Geordi's like, oh, that's obvious what that is, but only Wesley would have worked that. Data could have fucking And that one.
I see the kids taking time off from driving to come up with a plan.
Yeah, why wouldn't you assume that was O'Brien? Like, he's the transporter guy.
Yeah. I like this episode. I like this episode for a lot of reasons. I think a big part of this episode is something I really love about Star Trek, which is the diplomacy. Because so the reason that it's a big deal that they found this Romulan ship is that it's in Federation space.
Yes, it's near the neutral zone, but not in the neutral zone.
Yeah. And a Romulan ship appears at the edge of their side of the neutral zone, putting out, which was obviously trying to answer the distress call from this little shuttle, and is now flying into Federation space. And quite frankly, acting the Billy Big Bollocks about the whole thing, because they are very much destroying the treaty.
Yeah, they're completely in the wrong. One thing I do love about about Star Trek is that regularly you have this like view on like, oh, aliens might be different in certain ways, but we can put aside our differences and we can relate to each other. That's like often a theme in Star Trek, and at odds with that is the fact that Worf is usually very suspicious of any aliens they meet.
Yeah.
Except when it's the Romulans, and everyone goes, well, I don't think we take what they're doing at face value this time. And Worf is always like, no, you can't trust the Romulans. They're sneaky fucking bastards. And Worf is always cracked. Like, I do like the fact that that they specifically address, the Romulans say there's only one Romulan on the planet. So there's two. There's at least two. Because Romulans are a lot like George Santos. If they say something, you can just assume the opposite is true.
Yeah. And so the Romulans, the captain of the Romulan ship hails the Enterprise and says, "Oh, thank you for finding our lost shuttle. There was a pilot who got drifted off course. If you wouldn't mind just returning him to us."
Yeah.
Picard's like, I don't think so.
So one man shuttle he was on.
Exactly. I don't think so. He was floating about our space, and then, and I've got down here, the Romulan attempts to hit Picard with a Picard speech about the value of life. It's like, come on, man. Do you know who you're talking to? Like, he can see through this immediately. He doesn't even need Troy there.
I mean, I'm gonna say that the Romulan, knowing what I know about how Romulan like intelligence works, they know exactly. The minute they saw it was the Enterprise, the flagship of the Federation, they've got a fucking dossier on board their vessel. It's just going, oh, Picard, loves a speech. I'll try a speech on him. Yeah. That'll work.
Who's down on the planet? Geordi? Oh, that's unfortunate for him, isn't it? Do you think he'll be able to engineer his way out of this one where he can't see?
I hope that neutrino storm isn't having a problem with his neural pathways and interfering with that visor he's got.
Do you think the Romulans get the episodes of Star Trek that Riker watches every week?
They're on about a week's delay. Just because like their Romulan intelligence is ruthlessly efficient, but still takes the time to ship.
Yeah. They get it about the same time as we got it in the UK after it aired in America.
Yeah. They still get all the Marvel films a week before they air in America, though, because as everyone knows, they usually open in Europe so they can sort of test screen them a bit, and that's the ones that the Romulans watch.
So, fun fact: I found out the reason why that happens officially. So, I used to work for a cinema company, and I managed to get to chat to a lot of the people in head office who deal with the sort of admin-y side of film booking. And it turns out that the reason that we used to, not so much anymore, the reason that we used to in Europe get Marvel films a week early is that the Marvel films in the States were released around their holidays. That's why it was always like February, May, and then one in July or August.
It was a very early May because the Marvel release schedule always has, it's not always, usually has the last weekend in April, which I know because it means I have seen so many Marvel films on my birthday.
Yeah.
So,
and the reason for this apparently is that that also the American holidays usually, not always, but usually coincide with important football games in Europe. And so they don't want to release it on a Friday knowing that no one is going to go and see it on the Saturday because of a big final. So that's why we always got them earlier. The only one we didn't from like phase, I think it was like all the way up, and it might well have been up until Infinity War. In fact, I think we got Infinity War first. The only one where it didn't happen on, I believe, no, the only two were Captain America: The First Avenger, which was just a coincidence that America got it first, and the other one was Ant-Man, which took, was it Ant-Man or was it Ant-Man 2? I think it was Ant-Man. Ant-Man 2 took months to come out here. And the only reason I can think that happened is because Europe was just like, do we need this? Like, is there anything that's going to happen in this that we really need to see to benefit from to Endgame? And then it turns out, yes, very much so. In fact, you could argue the entire plot revolves on the post-credit scene of Ant-Man 2.
It makes up for the fact that, okay, the post-credit scene of Ant-Man 2 is very important to the overall story. Also, Ant-Man 2 does one of the worst things in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is it wastes Walton Goggins from Justified as a minor little low-rent character who is never going to come back. Whereas they should have saved that fucking actor to be somebody fucking major, because he's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Oh.
Have you ever seen... So he was in an episode of Community.
Yeah.
He's Pierce's lawyer after Pierce dies, and he has to give everyone the vials of sperm. Have you ever seen the read-through that they done during lockdown? Where they done that episode, but he wasn't available, so they got Pedro Pascal in to read for that part. And Pedro... I don't know if Pedro had read the entire script, because that's like a 30-second scene, and it takes him 5 full minutes to get through it, because he's just pissing himself every time he says sperm. And Harmon, who's ostensibly just there to read the stage directions, is like, yeah, we had to come up with 5 different ways to make sperm a punchline, and you wouldn't believe how hard that was. So each one has to get progressively funnier than the last.
Man, Pedro Pascal is just a treasure.
Yeah.
He's not done. Has he done Marvel yet?
Ooh, no.
He hasn't, has he?
No.
Oh, I can't wait to see who James Gunn inevitably has him do in the post credits of Guardians 3.
Yeah. Have you watched the SNL? I said I would send it to you. Have you watched the SNL Mario Kart video yet?
No, not yet.
I'll send it to you after this. It's brilliant.
Okay. Who do you think on the Enterprise? Who do you think on the main cast? Who does everyone play in Mario Kart? I could see Picard being a Mario man.
Yeah.
Good all round versatility. I see Worf goes Bowser, I reckon.
I reckon Data plays Wario. Wario is the one that if you can get good enough at him, he is the best. Because he's got really shit acceleration, but he's got an incredible top speed and heft, weight.
Also, the reason most people don't want to play as Wario is an emotional response.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, Data don't have that, yeah.
Can Geordi play... I don't know. Because I know, like, with him being blind, he sees, like, energy and stuff through the visor, and he can see normal... And he can obviously see the screens.
Yeah.
In... like that. But those screens are, like, designed to work with his visor. Like, one would assume.
Yeah.
Like, they wouldn't have made a visor and go, oh, it works with everything except for screens. Good luck in the Federation, mate.
Yeah.
But are those screens working in the same fundamental way as, like, a fucking CRT TV?
Well, maybe. Yeah, I guess so. Maybe he would need to use CTR. But I remember back in the 80s. I don't remember back in the 80s, but back in the 80s, I think Frank Miller posited that Daredevil can read newspapers because the ink is very slightly raised from the page.
Oh yeah. He can
Yeah.
he can read anything that's written in actual pen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he also, it's one of my two favourite facts about Daredevil. My second one being that Daredevil has an amazingly huge apartment because somebody put a neon sign right outside, which makes it impossible to read to anyone who isn't blind.
Yeah.
Which makes me think, how often, like, I'm just going to say, I'm very curious as to how the disabled, like, property market works. Because, like, if I'm deaf, I'm going to move into it. I don't give a fuck that my place is right next to the airport, right? There's got to be, if that's cheaper, fine. I'll go for it. Like, are there properties that are a pain to live in for anyone except the blind? That's what I want to know.
I mean, I think in modern Britain, if you ask the question, how does the disabled X work? The answer is, not well.
Yeah, no, that's fair. If you ask in modern Britain, how does the disabled work? The answer is slightly better than it does for trans people. That's it. That's the best you're gonna get.
Jeez. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know, like... Yeah, because in this we get a lot of Geordi vision in this.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't think he would be able to play Mario Kart. That's a good question. Should we tweet LeVar Burton? Because I've started, I do a bit of writing, right, for funsies, and when I'm coming up with characterization, I like to because a lot, you do character interviews, like what does your character want, what is their backstory, blah blah blah. I found that a good exercise to do is how would my characters solve the Kobayashi Maru. And one thing that I'm writing at the moment, I came up with, Kevin would moralise to the Romulans for so long that they would just admit that it was a trap. Because they get sick of talking to him. And I wonder if for Star Trek characters, would it be a good one to find out who they would all play in Mario Kart? I imagine, though, if you went up to Sir Patrick Stewart in the street and said, big fan, first of all, lovely to meet you. Who do you think Picard would play in Mario Kart? He'd be like, how can I get the fuck out of this conversation?
No. Patrick Stewart, weirdly, if you ask him that question, gets very animated because in all occasions where he can play as him, he always chooses to play as Waluigi. Waluigi's never been included in the early Mario Karts, so he was ever since he was brought in Mario Tennis, he's all Patrick Stewart's wanted to play. In fact, he's been pitching for years a movie where Wario and Waluigi are played by him and Ian McKellen.
And it's just a word for word waiting for Godot.
Yeah, it is. Weirdly, in that adaptation, in that version, still had Chris Pratt doing Mario.
I think that movie looks fun. I don't care what anyone says. I'm going to see that movie.
It looks like what it is. It looks like it's going to be a perfectly competent... I don't care about the Mario movie. I just want the Mario movie to be successful enough that Nintendo finally make a Legend of Zelda series or film. Like, I'm hoping the combination of the Mario movie and The Last of Us doing well will make somebody at Nintendo go, maybe we could do Zelda. Because the great thing about Zelda is it doesn't matter how much you change, because every time the story's fucking different.
Yeah.
You just need the Princess, Ganondorf, the Triforce, go.
So we obviously can't have Pedro Pascal as Link, because Link doesn't speak.
No, we have him as Ganon.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. Yep, done. Problem solved.
So I saw a great thing the other day, which was somebody had done played around on Photoshop, and they'd done a Netflix poster for The Legend of Zelda with I think Emma Watson as Zelda.
Yeah, classic.
And somebody underneath was complaining about how this showed how wokeness had gone too far, that even Zelda was being played by a woman.
Yeah.
And then getting absolutely rinsed in the comments.
Yep.
That's a question. How comes we never see, nobody ever uses the holodeck to play, video games? Like, I get why Sherlock Holmes adventures are fun. I get why you fucking Dick whatever his chasey name is, things are. I get that, but how comes it never goes like everybody's meeting up on the everyone's meeting in the holodeck to play Mario Kart? Because that would be fun as shit.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess you would. I guess it's
just imagine having to write that back as Captain Picard. Your son Kevin was a great officer, and we are sad to report that he died. The fail-safes in the holodeck got turned off, and he was killed by a blue shell.
I think it would just be
before he was killed. No, he was in first.
Yeah, I think it would just be. Dear Mrs. Smith, if your son Ensign Jordan didn't want to die, he shouldn't have been so good at Mario Kart as to always be the target of a blue shell.
Yeah. Have you ever played Street Fighter or something? Like, okay, I'm not expecting this sort of thing from Star Trek, but like the Orville,
yeah,
like maybe this could be addressed, because they have addressed the fact that it is used for porn. Like,
yeah, but I guess it comes down to that same thing as why aren't movies relevant anymore? Like, the only reason that video games exist in the way that they do today is because we don't have holodecks. But if you have a holodeck, you can affect every movie as a video game.
Well, I've had this discussion quite a few times with some friends of mine about if in the world of Star Trek, and you want to play Dungeons and Dragons on the holodeck, do you like fucking like make a fantasy world that like you have everyone run around in it? It's all been like plotted out by thing, or do you just have a really good D&D table where you can like have all of like the terrain and like figures pop up, and you've always got the right thing that you need?
Because I guess then that comes down to what is fun about D&D. Is it the action of doing it, or is it the atmosphere of everyone being around a table and being on the same page?
Yeah. Would it be like, oh, I have created a fantasy world where I can roam around and do anything from the Wizards of the Coast branded Dungeons and Dragons thing? Or would it just be like, there's a holodeck where we can have Matt Mercer run a game of D&D for us?
And do you get the computer to be the DM, or do you have them? Has Matt Mercer licensed out his image to Holodeck Murders Inc. and the murder has a red line through it?
I think you do. Here's the thing. I think allowing the holodeck to DM could actually be really useful, because it would allow the holodeck's murderous urges to be released without anyone having to be hurt. Yeah. Like when the holodeck kills a player character and everyone's like, "Oh, so dramatic." The holodeck would probably be like, "Oh, no one's angry at me," and yet I got the same thrill of killing that I love so much.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a good question. We should ask Patrick Stewart this when we meet him on the street.
Yeah.
So Patrick, hi, big fan. I was the guy yesterday who hung about this Starbucks that I know that you go to ask you about Mario Kart. My next question is, if you were to play Dungeons and Dragons in the holodeck, right? And that's when that's when Sir Patrick Stewart's wife whips out her taser. And then she tases you, and as you're on the ground and you're wriggling around, Sir Patrick Stewart leans down beside you and whispers in your ear, "You get 2 chances with Sir Patrick, and you've used them both."
And I'll just, if that is the case, then I would whisper back to him, "God, season 2 was shit." But I know Judi Dench has played Dungeons and Dragons. Maybe Patrick Stewart has.
Yeah.
Because Judi Dench, Vin Diesel ran D&D for everybody on the set of Chronicles of Riddick. And so a friend of mine works on This Morning, and he had to go to a place they're going live to do like a bit of a recce for it the other day, and he met Judi Dench.
Oh wow!
And I was gutted, because I have always known exactly how I would start a conversation with Judi Dench. It would basically be like, right, first of all, big fan. your contribution to the Bond franchise is immeasurable, and you're one of Britain's greatest exports as an artist. I think you're wonderful. First question: when you played Dungeons and Dragons with Vin Diesel, what character did you play?
Yeah.
Because I'm curious, because I've got a suspicion Judi Dench will surprise you. I've got feelings she'll be busted out like, oh yeah, I was a half-orc ranger, or
it is amazing sometimes when you meet celebs and you hit them with a question that they weren't expecting. Because I one time met Frankie Boyle, the comedian, at a book signing. His new book was out, and I love Frankie, right? So I went to the book signing. There wasn't that many people there. There was maybe about 25 people there, and I was like sixth or something in line, and everybody was up and getting an autograph and like, oh, thanks. I love Tramadol Nights or whatever, and he was like, oh, great, and like, oh, you fuck the sun and all that. And he's like, yeah. And I got up to him and I went, listen. In your earlier book, you mentioned like a lot of comics, like the Invisibles. I said, thank you very much for like turning me on to them. They were incredible. And immediately, like, his eyes lit up. And he went, oh, have you read this by this guy? And I went, no. And he went, oh, fuck. He says, oh, somebody... And he turned into one of the people there and he went, can you go and get me like a bit of paper? So he went and got him a bit of till roll. And he wrote down, right, you need to read this, and then you need to read this, and then you need to read this, and then this is also good if you like that one, and this, da. I still have that bit of paper. There's some spectacular... there's a book that I think everyone should read. It's called Sleeper by Peter someone or other. And basically it's set in the Wildstorm universe, which used to be adjacent to the DC universe. It's like the hardcore DC universe.
Yeah.
But the point of Sleeper is that he is part of a superhero team and he has to infiltrate like the version of the Illuminati. So he has to become a sleeper agent by like making out that he has turned bad with a CIA handler who then inserts him into this sleeper cell, essentially, of villains who are going to do something horrible, and then the handler dies.
Oh, right.
And he meets... It's really, really good because he goes to the Illuminati, and the Illuminati are really impressed by them. So one of the Illuminati takes him aside and says, listen, you've really impressed us. Are you ready to meet the people who are actually in charge? Rather than the people that we present the conspiracy theorists to be as being in charge. It's a fantastic book. Grim, but really, really good. I think it's Peter David. I think name rings a bell. I think it was Peter David. Anyway, it's called Sleeper. Get it out. It's brilliant.
I've not got. The best I've got in terms of like celebrity. I managed to get a laugh out of Stephen Fry at a book signing, which was it was when he was doing Stephen Fry in America. I got the book that was like the companion piece to the series. And I was at the signing, and I go around. All I said to him was, "So this is a show that you've done for the BBC. When is it going to be broadcast?" He was like, "Oh, it airs in like a week's time." I go, "Okay, and when will it be on Dave?" And that got a giggle, and that's the best. But I know apparently this is a bit of advice. If ever you meet a celebrity, if you can ask them about something weird, they will want to talk to you much more than they will. Because apparently, so if you talk to like Bret the Hitman Hart, if you ever meet him and you try and talk to him about anything to do with wrestling, he is a miserable cunt. But if you ask him what it was like to be on The Simpsons that time, he lights the fuck up.
Counterpoint to that, I once met the comedian Rich Fulcher from The Mighty Bush and asked him what it was like to be in Wayne's World 2. And he just gave me a look that I read as, oh, so you're a cunt that trolls through the trivia section of fucking IMDb. Because in Wayne's World 2, there's a bit where I think the joke is, oh, the budget's really high, so we can go to whatever locations that we want. So you see the back of Wayne and Garth as they're like, we can go to Greece, and then the green screen just changes to Greece, or we can go to Rome, and here's the Leaning Tower of Pisa. But that's not Mike Myers and is it Dana Carvey? Dana Carvey and Mike Myers. That's Rich Fulcher and some other bloke. That Rich Fulcher is being the back of Mike Myers.
I'm not going to say that Mike Myers let success go to his head, but when you realise, look at the script, oh man, that's not my face on screen. Get someone else.
Yep. Speaking of our usual section, stories that we heard about J.K. Rowling that really should have made us realise all this sooner. So Stephen Fry does the British version of the Harry Potter audiobooks. In America, it's Jim Dale, who's another English guy, who I arguably think is better. But Stephen Fry done the audiobooks for the first 3 books, and when he got to The Prisoner of Azkaban, which is the latest book in the series, he realised that there's a bit where Harry says, or the text says, Harry pocketed his wand, which is a fancy way of saying Harry put his wand in his pocket. And Stephen Fry has a very particular speech impediment where he can't say certain consonant sounds after each other, so he can't say pocketed without stumbling, so he says pocketed, right, which is pretty common. He then called up J.K. Rowling to ask her if he could change this. And from what I understand, J.K. Rowling remembered a time that she met Stephen Fry at a party and said to him, "Hi, I'm Joanne Rowling, I write the Harry Potter books." And Stephen Fry, which at this time may not have been very popular, and Stephen Fry responded something like, "Oh, very good for you." And that was kind of the interaction. So she took this to heart, and after The Prisoner of Azkaban, there is at least one example of the word pocketed in every single following book. What a fucking spiteful cunt.
Yeah.
And you know what? You can sue me if you want over that, because that's an opinion.
Yeah. It is my opinion that you are a transphobic cunt, J.K. Rowling, and that's based on a significant amount of evidence. I would happily argue in court. Anyway.
How many listeners does this podcast have now? About 25? This will be the time that we say shit about a celebrity that they'll actually go through with it.
Yeah, this is the one that everyone's going to share. They go, "Oh, it's gotten really good. You should listen to this." Anyway, you should listen to this, my friend who works at Random House. Oh, if you manage to get cancelled twice, Mark, before really having a career.
It's a speed run. I'm trying to speed run. I'm going to run for First Minister of Scotland as well. And just let them know all my views.
Oh, Christ.
Right on day one.
It's I would just want to say there's been a lot of articles that have said things along the lines of, "Oh, should someone's religious beliefs stop them from doing a job?" And I go, well, okay, if my belief was that my belief is that I'm not pro-abortion. I believe that all children should be born, and then after they're 2 weeks old, they should be drowned. Right. That view, you would have a problem with me being considered as head of midwifery at a hospital, right? Yeah. Okay. So if you're against gay marriage, maybe you shouldn't have the job where you get to decide that.
Yeah, because I'm sure the argument about me when I started running would be something like, well, there aren't any Amish people in Scotland, but this guy seems to feel really strongly that he dislikes the Amish because they seem to be... They just have a sense of smug superiority about them, and I don't like that.
Yeah, and to be fair, we've been very clear on this podcast that we don't like the Amish, and you can tell them if you want, but then really you're the arsehole, aren't you? You've met an Amish person, you go, "Oh, you know what would ruin their day?"
Yeah, exactly, and then you'll have to explain what a podcast is. It's not worth it. Don't bother.
Yeah. There's a magic talkie box.
Yeah.
Well, you say that. Amish people know what all this shit is. They've just gone,
which
can't be bothered.
On the one hand, sometimes I do have to give the Amish credit. I wish that I couldn't be bothered with podcasts anymore. Not this one. I just feel like it just takes up a lot of my time.
Yeah. I'm listening to like free classic like wrestling watching like podcasts, and they're like, so sometimes I'll have to watch like 5 old pay-per-views in like a 2-week period just to be caught up on the podcasts. And that's always awkward because I can't put them on. It's one thing to watch modern wrestling. My girlfriend's kind of okay with me having that on and watching it, but when I'm putting on shit wrestling from the 80s and she's like, "What's this?" And you're like, This is such and such. Oh, is this a good show? No, this is a historically bad show. But there's 2 things on it that are interesting, so I'm going to watch it, all of it, for 2 fucking hours.
Ooh, I'm on the memory alpha.
Yeah.
I've just found something really interesting. The plot point of Worf letting Patak die, the Romulan, by refusing blood met great resistance among some of the writing staff and Michael Dorn.
Oh.
Dorn commented, I called the producers and said I didn't agree. I thought giving blood was the honourable thing to do. I thought people would look at Worf as a murderer. The producers felt that Worf was getting to be too human, just a guy with a big head. When the opportunity came for them to show that Worf was not human, that he is not bound by the same morals as we are, they felt it was a wonderful opportunity. In hindsight, however, he did see the wisdom of the decision, remarking how it revealed the different sides of Worf.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree. Let's be honest, right? Okay. The Klingon concept of honour is weird and strange and complicated, and not at all helped by the fact that they have invisible ships that they could spring out of nowhere before anybody sees them and shoot you to death. Right? That's
Yeah.
I feel like they shouldn't have given the Klingons. They wanted to do like submarine stuff, so I get why the Klingons have invisible ships, and I get what. But it's the Romulans. The Romulans should be the invisible ones. The Klingons should have had something else, like, oh, we don't have shields.
Yeah.
We just have massive battering ram ships that we just fly through things with. Something weird like that.
I also like this take from LeVar Burton. According to LeVar Burton, this episode was Star Trek's homage to the 1958 film The Defiant Ones with Tony Curtis and Sidney Poitier, rather than being its homage to the film Enemy Mine, which is what it was. Although I don't know I think Enemy Mine might have come out after this.
No, I'm pretty certain Enemy Mine is mid-80s. Let me just check.
Oh, 1985. Yeah, fuck us.
Yeah, so, like, it's entirely possible that some of the writers of Enemy Mine ended up working on Star Trek. So, like, maybe, I'm assuming this was just somebody who went, oh, nobody fucking saw that movie. Let's reuse it.
Yeah, why not? Fuck it. See what happens.
Yeah, recycle stuff. But no, I like. The thing with Worf not giving blood, I really like that we don't get a like Star Trek-y. Oh, Worf goes on a moral journey and learns that it's the right thing to do. It's like no, because like I'm like. This is where it gets. It's weird to try and talk about human terms because you have to start. This is a very easy a conversation that if you were trying to like patch in the human like equivalents, this could very easily spiral into racism. So I'm going to be careful about how I word this. I want to be specific when I'm not saying I'm not okay. If you were, let's say, Pete Davidson, and somebody needed your blood to save a member of fucking Al Qaeda, right? You wouldn't do it. And it is important that within the realm of Star Trek, the Romulans are all very passionately supportive members of the Romulan regime. They don't
of
really
Al-Qaeda.
have... Like,
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah. The attack on Khitomer was very much the 9/11 of Star Trek, right? Everybody remembers where they were the day Worf saw his parents get killed. Which is most of the Romulans were just at home watching it on a big screen, popcorn, laughing. A
second disruptor bolt has hit the parents.
Worf's mother has been hit by a disruptor bolt. We believe this might have been oh no, a second disruptor bolt has hit the second parent.
Disruptor bolts can't melt bones. That's what they scream.
Yeah, but it's important like in Star Trek to like specifically say like it's not as if there are Romulan factions. It's not like this is somebody who's like a Romulan but had nothing to do with Worf's parents being murdered. This is a member of the Romulan like Space Force or whatever they're called, who is specifically a representative of the same group who did that, which it admittedly is the group all Romulans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, quick, because I need to go very quickly. Promotions. Big one straight to Commander Riker, because when him, Worf, and Geordi get to the planet and Geordi gets lost, Worf says, "Shall we find Geordi?" And Riker goes, "Nah, leave it." So big old promotion.
Yeah, big old promotion to Wesley for apparently being the only person smart enough to work out how to get Geordi back.
Yep, big fat demotion to the rest of engineering.
Yeah, should have fucking know what to do.
Promotion to O'Brien's hairdresser. Looked good. Looked real good.
Yeah. We're going to get to that. Believe it or not, I'm about to say something that seems mental. In this series of us doing this podcast, we are going to get to the hairdresser on the Enterprise. And it is going to be a point of discussion that I've been waiting to have for a very long time.
I can't wait for that to be the full episode.
Because it brings up it is a doorway to a conversation topic that I have been I've been waiting to discuss. And I can't do it until we get to him. Right?
Excellent.
But yeah, it's in it for 10 seconds and it raises so many fucking questions. Right.
Well, I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was a perfect bit of Star Trek.
Yeah, it's a great bit of Star Trek. We might not have talked about it much, but there's not. It's the problem is it's a classic science fiction or storytelling trope. So there's not a lot to say. Should you be able to put you and your differences aside with your enemy and work together to save your own life? Yes.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
In most all cases, yeah, do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Easy
Unless like you're going to save the life of a person who's like planning on killing everyone, right?
Yeah.
Then don't.
Don't bother. Leave
Yeah.
it. Yeah, but your visor will tell you when that's the case.
Yeah. It'll just come up with a little thing that says, like, little label just says Kang.
Yeah.
And then don't do it.
Don't bother.
Yeah.
Nice one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was the episode. Hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
See you. See you next week.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.